What is going on, Snooker fans, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since my last video, as I've taken a few weeks away from the snooker world. But with the new season now officially upon us, I'm back with my annual preview of what I predict will happen in the snooker world over the next 10 months or so. And any of you who have watched my previous season previews will know that I look to predict who will be the world number one at the end of the season, who is an underdog player to look out for, and who will win the 3 Triple Crown titles across the season. In the past, I've also done some personal predictions for Neil Robertson, but this year I'm going to replace that by giving you a hot take for what I expect to see happen this season, so stick around until the end of the video for that as well. But we'll start at the race for who will end the season as the world number one. I didn't really bother going into depth on this subject last season because it was just plainly obvious that Judd Trump was too far ahead of anyone to realistically catch him last season. But this season, the world number one ranking is very much up for grabs. Judd still has a healthy lead of over £400,000 ahead of Neil Robertson, who currently sits in second place. But Judd has over £1 million worth of ranking points to defend this season. And the biggest issue Judd faces, no doubt, this season is the fact that with the Saudi Arabia Masters no longer on the snooker calendar, he has no chance of defending the title that he won 2 years ago, which means that £500,000 that he won, he is going to have to try and make up elsewhere across the snooker season. He also won the UK Championship 2 years ago as well, so there's another £250,000 to defend as well. So that is another healthy chunk of money set to disappear from the Ace in the Pack's points tally this season. If you add that with the slightly underwhelming season from him last campaign, the door definitely feels ajar for someone to overtake him. And well, who is in the best place to do that? Well, in second place is Neil Robertson, and the good news for Neil is that the majority of his current ranking points came from last season, and he has roughly 500,000 to defend over the course of this season. However, I'm not convinced that he is the man that can win 3 or 4 big titles over a season anymore. I still expect him to get his hands on silverware of some kind, but I don't think he will be that consistent and will rather be building his season towards the bigger events. And I suspect he will be absent from several tournaments across this season as well. I expect him to remain comfortably within the world's top 5 and perhaps could temporarily become world number one early in the season. But unless he wins the really big tournaments, I don't see him reaching the summit come the season end. And then we also have the 2 most recent world champions who also have over £1 million to their name on the ranking list. If we go back 2 years, Zhao Xingtong was still an amateur, which means the only money he is really defending this season is the 500,000 from his world title win last April. Wu Yize is in an even more comfortable position, knowing his 500,000 won't be coming off until next season, and he only has around 250,000 to defend this season. So it does feel like it's between these 2 men for that race to the world number one spot. And the differentiator may just be when we look at the provisional end of season rankings, which has Wu Yize sitting on top by quite a nice margin and almost 200,000 ahead of Zhao Xingtong. So the question is, can Xingtong close that gap over the course of the season? And you know what? I am actually going to back him to do that. Why? Well, Zhao demonstrated that he can be a serial winner last season by winning 3 titles in the span of 2 months. And I am expecting him to be back winning trophies again this season as well. With Wu Yize, that is a bit more of a lottery. It is never easy to predict how a first-time world champion will adjust to the new limelight they come under. And even Zhao did take half a season before he really started to fire. Wu is of course a very cool, very calm customer, but my gut tells me that Zhao will have a more consistent season and will just pip him to the world number one spot come next May. Now let's have a look at my underrated player to look out for this season, and this time around I've gone for Jiang Jin. Jiang impressed last season, reaching a couple of quarterfinals and then got to Judgment Day at the World Championship qualifiers as well. And there are reasons to see why I don't think that was a one-hit wonder kind of season, and I think we're going to see more and more of this young player. He made 20 centuries last season, which put him 30th on the all-round century makers list last season. And he also had a strike rate of nearly 40% when making 50 plus breaks per frame. And that was a percentage that put him alongside the likes of Neil Robertson, Barry Hawkins and Jack Lisowski. Like seemingly every youngster from China, this 20-year-old has demonstrated that he can score heavily, and that really is the secret to success in this sport. Now, when I've made these predictions in the past, I've been quite vague about it, and I've always said something like, I'm not saying that this player that I'm choosing will win titles or get in the top 16, but is someone to look out for. But the problem with that is there's no real metric available to determine how successful this prediction is. So this year I've gone a little bit different, and I've decided to make a couple of actual predictions for Jiangxin this campaign. Firstly, well, I said he reached 2 quarterfinals last season, and he also reached one further last 16 last season. I think this season he will make at least 5 or 6 last 16 appearances and get to another quarterfinal as well. He also starts the season with a world ranking of 70, but I think he can shoot up the rankings quite considerably, and I think he will finish inside the world's top 40. Now we will look into who will win the Triple Crown titles this season, and this part is always just a bit of fun because there's no real analytical ability on show here. This is purely based on gut feeling at the start of the season. And of course we'll start at the UK Championship. This has always been a tournament won by a heavy hitter. Really, the only slightly surprising winner over the past 20 years was probably Zhao Xingtong when he won it 5 years ago when he was ranked 26th in the world. So you do always feel like one of the big boys will win this title. And this year I've gone no different, and I've backed my boy Neil Robertson to be that player. The Aussie has won this title 3 times and reached the semi-finals last season as well. And I do think he'll be extra keen to land a big tournament this season, as his last Triple Crown title came at the Masters back in 2022. So he is approaching a 5-year drought in the majors. And I do think he can at least add a couple more to his tally of 6 before he calls it quits on his career. My predictions are usually awful here though, so I'm sure Neil will now be facing a first round exit now that I've said this. Going into the Masters and when 2027 comes into town, I think Zhao Xingtong will complete his set of Triple Crown titles by adding to his previous wins in Sheffield and York by doing the same in London. He has only played at Ali Pali twice before and is yet to reach a Masters semi-final. But after what we saw from him last season, I am very excited to see what he will do this time around. By this point in the season, you would imagine that he should be in pretty decent form. And the concept of playing 4 matches, all played on the one table setup in a hostile London atmosphere, does seem perfectly suited to him. He will win this title at some point, that I have absolutely no doubt about. And I'm sticking with 2027 to be the year that he gets his first. And then the World Championship. We've had an unprecedented 4 first-time world champions in a row, with most of them brandishing their own unique brand of all-out attacking snooker. So are we going to have a 5th first-time world champion in a row? Are we going to have a 3rd Chinese world champion in a row? Predicting how things will go in Sheffield has become a lot harder recently, but I am going to stick with the pattern that we have seen over the past couple of years, and bear with me now, I'm going with Chang Bingyu. Now this pick has the real chance of going just horrifically wrong, but I said after Wu Yi's win that I need to reconsider what I'm looking for when predicting a world champion, so that is exactly what I'm doing here. Chang is ranked 48th in the world at the moment, but is almost guaranteed to be a lot higher come April, though I still think he'll need to qualify for the Crucible. But his savage rate of scoring could see him emulate what Xingtong done as a qualifier 2 years ago, and he'll also possess that young fearlessness that Wu Yiza had this year too. Times may just be changing, and it's possibly best to look at who can rely on bravery and just consistent savage scoring rather than experience to become a world champion in today's age. Although now that I've said this, we're almost definitely going to be celebrating Ronnie winning his 8th come next May. And then finally, I promised you all a hot take to finish this video on. And now that I'm thinking about it, predicting Chang Bin-Yu to win the World Championship probably was the hot take. But here we are. My actual hot take is, unfortunately, I think that Ding Junhui could end the season outside of the world's top 32. Now, I love Ding as a player. And when he was in his prime, some 10, 12 years ago, he was one of, if not the best player to watch in the game for me. The way that he could just effortlessly compile breaks in and around the pink and black spot was really something to behold. But that Ding has gone now, and I think it's fair to say he's gone for good. There have been occasional flashes of the true Ding, but in truth, it's been almost a decade since we last saw the very best of him on a consistent basis. Ding is ranked 15th in the world, but when the money disappears from his win at the International Championship 2 years ago, he will be outside of the top 16. In fact, the provisional end-of-season rankings sees him down in 25th, and unfortunately, I can only see him dropping further. He only earned £144,000 last season, highlighted by only reaching 2 ranking event quarterfinals, and the only big tournament he really done well in was the UK Championship, which was one of those quarterfinals, and he didn't progress any further than that in any tournament. And that is a similar kind of story that I'm expecting from him here. I do love Ding, like I say, and I think it would be a travesty if he drops as low as I'm predicting him to here, especially when he is not even 40 years old yet. But with more and more of his younger compatriots coming in and stealing the limelight, Ding does seem to be fading into the background more and more, and I'm not sure how much willpower he has in him to try and change that around again. And so there we have it, 6 predictions for the upcoming season, which will all almost definitely go completely wrong. Let me know, as always, in the comments any predictions you have of your own for what we will see during the new snooker season, and I will be back with more content once the action starts properly getting underway.